Welcome to the Slade Ham experiment. Hi, hello, how are you? You're on board the Midnight Spaceship for the next, handful of minutes. We're working our way through my book, Until All the Dragons Are Dead. It's a story collection, stuff I wrote back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. This is the title track, Until All the Dragons Are Dead. There's no audiobook version. This is the only place to hear the book read by the author. That's me. I'm the author. Here we go. Chapter 2. Until All the Dragons Are Dead. I have a treehouse. I built it unapologetically as an adult, and while it was born of necessity, it has since become something bigger. For the last few years, I've been living in an apartment complex owned and managed by an ancient woman who hardly knows who lives in her building, much less what any of us are up to. There aren't a ton of restrictions on what you can or cannot do in this complex, and even if there were, there's no one here to enforce them. Over the years, I've become good friends with several of the other residents. I'm living with my girlfriend Brittany right now, and I am constantly looking for a reason to not be in the apartment with her. Our relationship is what you might call explosive. The less I'm here, the less chance of inadvertently setting off an emotional truck bomb. So I spend a good bit of time hanging out with our ragtag group of neighbors. Dan is your typical Southeast Texas redneck. About 6'4", he drinks cheap beer by the case, drives a pickup truck, and eats weird things if you dare him. I personally watched him consume a raw shrimp and 3 wrinkled dollar bills one night, simply because someone bet him $1. He ate 3 of his own dollars to win 1 of someone else's. Dan lives across the street from Chuck, a gun-collecting Texan with a bit more intelligence. Dan is the kind of guy that will beat his chest and tell you what he's going to do. And Chuck will just do it. And Chuck happens to live next door to Henry. Henry is a stout and stocky black guy. Permanently high, he's the kind of person you can't help but like. He is Ice Cube in Friday. Over the course of the summer, a group of teens has chosen our neighborhood as a target for a string of car burglaries. My car has been hit twice, along with 11 others, in the last few weeks, but despite our attempts to keep watch individually, we've been unable to catch anyone in the act. For that matter, the only information we've been able to get at all is the occasional neighborhood's half-remembered account of an older, brownish-colored car full of a bunch of conspicuous-looking teens. The obvious solution, we decide, is to band together. Strength in numbers. We all fall in love with the idea of standing in unison against a common enemy. Not only will this be productive, this might even be fun. We recruit as many as we can from the neighborhood, and we agree to meet at Henry's house. There are 6 adults in all dressed in black, carrying whatever makeshift weapons we can find. With an old, forgotten Louisville slugger from under Chuck's bed, Dan's slingshot, and my chipped and slightly bent samurai sword, we are completely unprepared. We are, however, 100% willing to go to war with a gang of street-savvy thugs. Over the next hour, we discuss our plans. Who will cover which shift each night? What will we do if we actually catch someone? I've read enough comic books to get elected leader, so I'm the one forced to veto the most extreme game plans as they're presented. So, if one of us can just catch him in action and chase him towards the others, we could hog tie him, gag him, and leave him laying in the field overnight, Dan suggests. The fire ants and the skeeters ought to do the rest. Let's try to come up with something maybe a little bit more legal, I say. Talking to him is like trying to explain to a kid with Down syndrome why he can't have a balloon. And it's not just Dan. No one is helping. So I guess pumping them full of arrows and hanging them from a little tree like ghetto porcupine piñatas is out of the question? Chuck chimes in. You a damn fool, Chuck. You know that? Henry laughs. A damn fool. He French inhales his blunt. A reverse waterfall of smoke flows upward into his nose. When the meeting, if you can call it that, adjourns, the only decision we've come to is that we definitely need a place to mount our defense. We need a secure location. We need a fortress. I volunteer the tree next to my apartment and suggest that we might be able to put some sort of platform halfway up. We begin construction the next day. What starts as a 3x3 perch soon becomes something larger. The next day, Dan brings a truckload of grocery store pallets and landscaping timbers. We add each one to the rest. Before long, we erect a 2-story, 200 square foot plus citadel. Over the next few months, I forget all about the ring of thieves and concentrate my efforts on increasing the size of the treehouse. 2 old couches are acquired, and we haul them up into the branches. Electricity is run from my back porch via extension cords. Chuck has an old TV we can drag up there when it isn't raining. I fabricate a roof above the first level, leaving the second floor open to the sky, a perfect place to lie at night and watch the stars scroll by. I am 13 years old again and oblivious to the fact that I have absolutely zero construction skills. I use 20 screws where one would suffice. This thing is never coming down. We build on into the summer. With all our attention focused on the newly erected wooden castle, the dark brown Oldsmobile that comes creeping down the street late one night almost goes unnoticed. I get a call from Henry, who just happens to be out late adjusting the tension on the makeshift zip line, because a treehouse is nothing without a zip line. "These fools are behind the building, man. You in?" "I'll meet you outside." 2 minutes, I say. The building directly across the street is empty, and it has been since Hurricane Rita ravaged this area a year ago. There's no reason for anyone to be back there. It can only mean trouble. Despite Chuck and Dan's insistence that we attack, cooler heads prevail, and someone makes the case for calling the police. 20 minutes later, a squad car comes cruising down the road. It pulls behind the building, and we circle around the other side to watch the action, excited, certain that we're about to witness justice's swift hand slap someone in real time. 2 officers run up to the car across the dark parking lot. Their flashlights bounce along the rusted body, and then one of the doors creaks open. Smoke pours from the inside of the vehicle. The flashlight beams become solid yellow rods as they shoot through the billowing clouds. My first thought is that something is actually on fire. Then the realization hits me that the occupants of the car are just really high. It looks like a Cheech and Chong film. "Damn, son, I need to get me some of what they got," Henry says. What minutes earlier had seemed to be an open and shut case turns swiftly and shockingly sideways. The 5 teenagers are taken from the car, searched, and then handed back their keys with instructions to leave and not return. As the beat-up Cutlass rattles away, the police car follows them, and seconds later, both are gone. "Are you motherfucking kidding me?" asks Henry. We stand there completely slack-jawed. Clearly, the cops weren't in the mood to write up a report. Though we had no solid evidence, we are all convinced this is the same group of kids that's lifted our car stereos and CD collections. As we stare at each other in silent disbelief, something even more surprising happens. The brown car comes back. It cruises down the street through the darkness like a battle-worn shark, brazenly pulling in the drive headed back behind the building. Henry doesn't waste a second. He picks up Chuck's bat and starts out across the street. "Man, fuck a bunch of these motherfuckers, yo." We are all now ready for war. As we turn the corner behind the building, we can see one of the kids clearly retrieving something from the grass next to the car. Most likely something tossed when the police arrived earlier. The teen sprints back to the car when he sees us coming. "Go, go, go," he yells, and the car starts to back up as he dives inside. There is a wicked crack as Henry's bat connects with the windshield. The driver can't seem to get the car in gear, and Henry follows up with 2 more shots. The passenger window shatters, and there is an agonizing crunch as the hood caves in. "Damn, man, this is my mama's car," a voice from inside cries. "Then your mama better have insurance," Henry yells back as a brake light explodes in a shower of sparks and glowing glass. There are a few more glancing blows before the terrified kid manages to shift, and then finally the car speeds off, leaving us standing victorious among the wreckage. "Maybe we should finish this inside," I say, figuring the police are sure to return now that a somewhat violent crime has actually been committed by us, the brave defenders of our apartment kingdom. We don't even make it back across the street before the red and blue flashing lights round the corner. Chuck and Dan sprint for home, and Henry tosses the bat in the bushes. The car rolls to a stop in front of the two of us. I don't suppose one of you fellas want to tell us what happened here, do you? The officer asks as he steps out of the car. Seldom have any of my encounters with law enforcement over the years been positive ones, so I've adopted a strategy for dealing with them. When confronted by the cops, I go into what I call nerdy white kid mode. My demeanor changes instantly. Do you want to tell us what happened? He repeats. I move in, adopting a very clueless and scared persona. We heard some sort of hullabaloo and came to investigate. The officer looks at me dubiously, but I don't break. Seriously, there was some sort of ruckus outside. Thank God you're here, officer. Henry isn't so calm, however. That car came back, man. Why didn't you arrest those fools the first time? What Henry means is, I start to say, what I mean is, if y'all ain't gonna stop these motherfuckers from coming over here, then we will. The cop replies, Sir, you can't say the word motherfucker. And in a moment of complete idiocy, I say, no, Henry, apparently this motherfucker's the only one who can say motherfucker. And what a car full of drugged out kids couldn't do in 20 minutes, I did in 2. The officer shoves me up against the car before I can even begin to explain the hypocrisy. That's it. Turn around, son. Put your hands behind your back, he says, pulling out his handcuffs. I'm laughing as he clicks them shut around my wrist. Not only am I amused by the sudden turn of events, but I am incredibly curious how talking to my neighbor could be considered a threat or a crime. What exactly did I do? You were inciting a potential riot, is his reply. Watch your head. I duck as I'm placed in the back seat of the car. If that was a riot, I'd hate to see how he handles a group of Irish soccer fans. The officer sends Henry on his way and then gets in the car. His partner turns to me as we pull off. He sounds exactly the same. And I suggest you keep it down back there, the new cop says. We'd hate to have to tack any more charges on. I know that technically I'm going to get a disorderly conduct charge, and I figure if I'm going to get one, I might as well earn it. My tongue takes on a life of its own, and I empty both barrels. Oh, really? Because legally, I don't think I have to be quiet at all. If you don't like it, let me out. Or you could just turn up the radio, Captain America. Your wife must be really proud of you, by the way, bringing down the scum of society. How scary it must be for you. Ooh, does it feel good, Kojak? You solved the crime. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Oh, wait, I can't say that word. I'm sorry. Fuck, motherfucker. You know, the last time you were here, we pointed out the guy who driven up in a stolen car and tried to break into my neighbor's truck, and then he ran from you guys, and when you caught him, he had a 14-inch screwdriver in his pocket, and what did you do? You let him go. I've seen detectives on court TV put a guy away for life based on a piece of lip DNA they pulled off a half-eaten apple core found in a dumpster 2 counties away from the crime scene. And you couldn't piece this mystery together? Yeah, you're on fire, Commando Rabbit. Why doesn't Fox ever follow you guys around for cops, huh? Maybe it's because you fucking suck. You ever think of that? Maybe it's because dragging a guy to jail for standing in his own neighborhood is just shitty television. What a hero. You're the worst cop ever. I hope your little radar gun really does give you cancer. Are we there yet? I gotta pee. Come on, man. Speed. We already know you're a hypocrite. What's it gonna hurt? I keep my face as close to the partition as possible, throwing every sentence directly at his ear as he drives. I'm determined to earn every minute of my stay in a holding cell. When we arrive at the jail, the 2 officers can't get rid of me fast enough. The ride has put me in a heightened state of amusement. Already resigned to my fate and the misdemeanor charge, I commit myself to making the most of the experience. No one is safe. They ask a million questions when they book me, all for what I can only assume is my permanent record. Once I realize no one's here to determine the veracity of my answers, however, I begin to lie. Even the simplest question is an invitation to mislead. The woman in charge sits in front of her keyboard. Height, she asks. 6'11", I answer with a straight face. No, you're not, she says. If you already know, then why are you asking me? She growls a bit and then continues. Do you wear corrective lenses? Nope. What color are your eyes? Is that with or without the context? You just said, I was kidding. Next, occupation. And in all honesty, I wanted to answer her correctly. The thought of having comedian next to my name in a file somewhere kind of makes me happy. But the bullshit train has left the station. I can't stop. I contemplate my answers as she repeats the question. Sir, occupation. And then with the most serious expression possible, I reply, Dragon Slayer. I even arch my eyebrow, as if that will somehow add authenticity to my claim. What? She asks. Dragons, large reptilian creatures. Did you not have a childhood? She cocks her head sideways, baffled. And where do you do this? Caves, meadows, wherever the need arises. I shoot back casually. Y'all took my sword. She still doesn't know how to process what I'm giving her. She has a blank to fill in on her form, and the words coming out of my face confuse her. And people give you money for this. Sometimes money, sometimes a virgin or a goat. Whatever the village can afford. I have a calling, lady, and I won't stop until all the dragons are dead. Eventually, especially once I know my friends have arrived with bail money, I cooperate. I manage to keep a maniacal little smile the entire time, though, which does a phenomenal job of keeping the other people in the holding cell convinced that I'm at least a little bit insane. What are you in for? Killing lizards, I snap. The tree fort lasts longer than I thought it would. One day, a letter arrives at my door from the landlord. Apparently, a makeshift platform of 38 pallets suspended 15 to 20 feet in the air is an insurance risk, and news of the tiki torch someone had drunkenly dropped on one of the couches has made its way back to her as well. It must come down, the letter says. Getting it up had not been a problem. Getting it out of the tree proves to be a different story entirely. I pull on the beams, I hit things with a hammer, and I jump up and down. Nothing phases it. Damn, I'm good, I think to myself. Then I tie a rope around one of the support struts and pull some more. I even go so far as to ask myself, what would Jesus do? Then I remember that Jesus was an actual carpenter. He could probably dismantle the entire thing in one afternoon with his Jesus powers. Eventually, I give up. It stands stoically in that empty lot for another 2 years after I move out. Even after my relationship ends, I will still sneak back to visit it, hoping against hope that my ex won't come home when I do. Time ultimately takes its toll on the untreated lumber. Pieces fall one by one over the following months until, exhausted at last, the final section surrenders itself to the elements. That's the second chapter of my book. The next chapter might be my favorite in the whole book. We have a long way to go. If you want your own copy of Until All the Dragons Are Dead, it's available on Amazon. It's available signed from my website, sladeham.com. You can also get a t-shirt there to help support the new special. That'll get your name in the credits. We're taping in November. Lots of stand-up dates coming up. Check the calendar, see if I'm going to be close to you, and stick around. We got lots of cool things coming up on the Slade Ham experiment. Be nice to yourself. I mean that. Today. Do something kind. Just for you. It's important. See you guys on another episode of the Slade Ham experiment.